The giant ships appeared without warning. One moment, Earth's orbit was empty except for satellites and space junk. The next, 7 massive vessels hung in the sky like dark moons. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harrison was the first human to see them. He was fixing a solar panel on the ISS Unity when something blocked the sun. At first, he thought it was just a shadow from the station. Then he looked up. "Control, are you seeing this?" Jack's voice shook as he stared at the nearest ship. It was smooth and black, shaped like a teardrop, and it made the space station look like a child's toy. Inside the Unity, alarms blared. Screens showed the vessels surrounding Earth. Every space agency on the planet scrambled to respond. No one knew what to do. 3 hours later, the aliens made contact. A signal reached every communications device on Earth at once. The message was simple: "We come to elevate you." The aliens called themselves the Vraxians. They spoke perfect English, along with every other human language. They said they had been watching humanity for decades. Now they had decided we were ready for guidance. Dr. Lisa Murphy was eating dinner when her phone rang. As NASA's top xenolinguist, she was needed immediately. 6 hours later, she stood in mission control, listening to the Vraxians speak. "Their language patterns are odd," she told her colleagues. "They use our words but not our thinking." The next day, the Vraxians invited a human delegation to meet them. Jack was chosen to go, along with diplomats from 5 countries. Their small shuttle approached the largest alien ship with caution. The inside of the Vraxian vessel amazed the humans. The walls seemed alive, shifting colors and shapes. The air smelled like cinnamon and ozone, and the Vraxians themselves were tall, thin beings with skin that glowed faintly blue. Their ambassador, Krellfax, towered over the humans. His long fingers gestured gracefully as he spoke. "We have watched your species crawl from the mud," he said. His voice was musical but cold. "Your technology is quaint. Your understanding is childlike. But we see potential in you." He led them through chambers filled with wonders. Machines that created objects from nothing. Screens that showed distant galaxies in perfect detail. Plants that moved and responded like animals. "This is how a civilized species lives," Krellfax said. He smiled, showing teeth like polished pearls. "We will teach you in time." Jack noticed how the Vraxian always touched a small crystal pendant when he spoke of teaching. The crystal glowed with an inner light. Back on Earth, world leaders argued about how to respond. Some welcomed the aliens with open arms. Others warned of danger. Most decided to wait and see. The Vraxians established embassies in major cities. They offered small examples of their technology as gifts. Medical devices that could heal wounds instantly. Energy generators that needed no fuel. Communication tools that worked anywhere on Earth. Dr. Lisa Murphy studied these gifts carefully. "They're amazing," she told Jack during a private meeting. "But they're also limited. There are parts we can't open, codes we can't change." "Like giving a smartphone to a monkey," Jack said. "They let us use it, but they don't want us understanding how it works." 3 months after first contact, the Vraxians made an announcement. They would take 100 human representatives to their homeworld for cultural exchange. Many people volunteered. The chance to see alien stars was too exciting to pass up. As Jack watched the selection process, he noticed something strange. The Vraxians chose only people who showed complete trust in them. Anyone who asked too many questions was passed over. "They say they want to help us," Lisa whispered to him during the final selection. "But they never ask what help we actually need." Jack nodded slowly. "I think they've already decided what we should become." Above them, the dark ships hung in the sky, waiting. And in the embassies across Earth, the crystals the Vraxians carried glowed brighter each day. 6 months passed since the Vraxians first appeared. Their ships now seemed normal in the sky, like new moons that had always been there. People stopped pointing at them. Navy engineer Alan Powell worked in a special lab studying the alien gifts. The Vraxians had given more technology to Earth. Better medicine, faster computers, cleaner energy. Everyone said these gifts would save humanity. Alan wasn't so sure. "Look at this," he said to his team one morning. He had taken apart one of the alien healing devices. Inside was a small crystal, similar to the ones the Vraxians wore. "Every gift has one of these. But what does it do?" No one knew. When Alan tried to remove the crystal, the device stopped working. When he put it back, everything functioned again. That same week, Captain Olivia Wells led the first official human visit to the Vraxian mothership. 20 diplomats and scientists went with her. The Vraxians showed them wonders beyond imagination. Gardens where plants grew in midair, rooms where gravity changed direction, windows that looked into other dimensions. "This is only a taste of what your species may achieve," Krell told them. His blue skin glowed brighter than before. "With our guidance, of course." During the tour, Olivia noticed a large door the aliens wouldn't open. When the group moved ahead, she lingered behind. Through a small gap in the doorway, she saw something strange. Hundreds of Vraxians kneeling before giant floating crystals. The crystals pulsed with light. The aliens seemed to be praying. Captain Wells, Krell called sharply, "Please stay with the group." Olivia hurried back, but the image remained in her mind. She told no one except Jack Harrison, who she had become friends with. "They worship those crystals," she whispered when they met for coffee. "Like gods." Jack nodded slowly. "And those same crystals are in every piece of technology they've given us." Back in his lab, Alan Powell reached out to Dr. Samantha Gray, a physicist who specialized in quantum mechanics. Together, they examined the alien devices more carefully. "The crystals emit a frequency," Samantha said after running tests. "A very specific pattern that affects brain waves." "What does that mean?" Ellen asked. "I don't know yet, but people who use these devices regularly report feeling more loyal to the Vraxians, more trusting." They decided to form a secret research group. Jack and Olivia joined them. So did Lisa Murphy, who had been studying the alien language. Together, they discovered something the Vraxians hadn't told anyone. The gifts could transmit information back to the alien ships. "They're watching us," Lisa said. "Everything we do, everything we say near their technology, they can monitor." Meanwhile, the Vraxians expanded their influence. Their advisors now sat in government meetings around the world. Their medical technology was in every hospital. Their communication devices replaced phones and computers. People who spent time with the aliens or used their technology often began to change. They became more obedient, less questioning. They spoke about the Vraxians with reverence, normally reserved for religious figures. Major Steve Daniels noticed this first in military personnel who worked closely with the aliens. Good soldiers who once thought for themselves now simply followed Vraxian suggestions without question. "It's like they've lost something," he told General Patricia Martinez. "Some essential human spark." The general had noticed too. She connected Steve with Alan's secret group. One night, they all met in a cabin far from any city, careful to leave all technology behind. "I think we need to face the truth," Jack said to the group. "The Vraxians aren't just visitors or teachers." "Then what are they?" Steve asked. Lisa's face was grim. "In their language, the word they use for us translates closer to worshippers than students." Alan placed one of the crystals he had removed from a device on the table. "And I think," he said, pointing to it, "we're being prepared to serve their gods." 2 years had passed since the Vraxians came to Earth. Their technology was everywhere now. Vraxian healing centers replaced hospitals. Vraxian power stations provided free energy. Vraxian advisors sat in every government. Most people thought this was wonderful. Life was easier. No one got sick anymore. No one worried about paying electric bills. Major Steve Daniels wasn't convinced. He watched his fellow soldiers change day by day. They spoke differently. They moved differently. Even their eyes looked different, flat and empty. Steve kept notes on these changes. He recorded conversations. He took pictures. Every week, he brought his findings to General Patricia Martinez. "Look at Colonel Fisher," he said, showing her before and after pictures. 6 months ago, he questioned every order. Now he follows Braxian's suggestions without thinking. The general nodded grimly. "I've seen it too. It's happening in every branch of the military." Meanwhile, Alan Powell and Dr. Samantha Gray made a breakthrough in their secret lab. They had built a device that could read the signals coming from the Vraxian crystals. "It's sending out patterns," Samantha said, pointing to her computer screen. "The same patterns, over and over, like a heartbeat." "What do the patterns do?" Alan asked. "They match brain waves, human brain waves, but they change them slightly with each pulse." They called Jack, Lisa, Steve, and Patricia to show them the discovery. The small resistance group met in an old bomb shelter deep underground, away from all Vraxian technology. "The gifts they gave us aren't just gifts," Alan explained. "They're changing how people think." "Like mind control?" Jack asked. "More subtle," Samantha said. "It's slow, gentle. People don't notice they're changing." Lisa had brought ancient books with her. "I found something interesting," she said. "Look at these old stories about gods who came from the sky." She showed them pictures of ancient people worshipping strange objects. Some looked like the Vraxian crystals. "These stories are from different places, Greece, China, South America. But they're all similar. Gods came down. They gave gifts. Then people served them." "You think the Vraxians have been here before?" Patricia asked. "Maybe. Or maybe they've done this to other planets, other species." Jack remembered something from his tour of the Vraxian ship. "They have pictures of other aliens in their halls. I thought they were allies. What if they're other conquered species?" The group grew silent. The idea was frightening. Steve cleared his throat. "We need proof. We need to know what's in that temple room Captain Wells saw." Olivia nodded. "The next diplomatic visit is in 2 weeks. I'll be going again. I can try to get closer." "It's too dangerous," Jack said. "They watch you carefully now." "They trust me," Olivia replied. "I've been acting like I worship them. It wasn't hard to fool them. They think humans are stupid." The plan was made. Olivia would try to see more of the temple. Alan and Samantha would keep studying the crystals. The others would find more people they could trust to join their resistance. As they were leaving the meeting, Lisa stopped suddenly. "Wait, I just realized something." Her face had gone pale. "In the Vraxian language, there's a word they use when talking to the crystals. I thought it meant master or lord, but I was wrong." "What does it mean?" Jack asked. "It means vessel or container. The crystals aren't their gods." She looked at each of them. Something lives inside the crystals, something that feeds on worship. Outside, in cities around the world, more people gathered at the new Vraxian temples. They brought offerings. They sang songs of praise. And above them, the Vraxian ships glowed brighter each night, like hungry eyes watching their prey. Alan and Samantha worked day and night in their hidden lab. They had taken a small crystal from a broken Vraxian device. They studied it under powerful microscopes. What they saw shocked them. "It's not just a crystal," Samantha whispered. "Look at these patterns inside. They move. They change. Like neurons in a brain." Alan adjusted the microscope. "You mean it's alive?" "I think so. Or part of something alive." They ran more tests. The crystal responded to electricity. It responded to sound. Most strangely, it responded to emotions. When they felt afraid near it, it glowed brighter. While they worked, Jack prepared for a dangerous mission. He needed to get a piece of crystal from the main Vraxian ship. The resistance group believed the ship crystals might be different from the ones in the gifts. "It's too risky," Lisa told him. But Jack saw no other choice. He was part of a maintenance crew that regularly visited the Vraxian ships. The aliens still needed human help with some tasks. They thought humans were good at fixing simple problems. During his next visit, Jack brought special tools. When no one watched, he cut a small piece from a crystal panel in a hallway. He hid it in a lead container in his pocket. His heart beat fast as he left the ship, but no alarm sounded. The Vraxians didn't notice. Back at the secret lab, they studied the new sample. "This one is different," Samantha said. "It's more active, more alive." Under the microscope, they saw something incredible. The crystal had tiny channels running through it, like blood vessels. A clear fluid moved through these channels. The Vraxians call these the Eternals, Lisa said. She had been translating more Vraxian texts. They've served them for thousands of years. Served them, or been controlled by them? Steve asked. Lisa showed them pictures from the Vraxian files. Look at their history. Early Vraxians didn't have these crystals. They looked different, more emotional in their art, more creative. Like us, Jack said quietly. Then the crystals appeared, Lisa continued. Their whole civilization changed, became more orderly, less individual. General Martinez had been gathering information too. We found records of at least 20 other species the Vraxians have helped. All of them now serve as workers for Vraxian ships. They're not conquering us, Olivia realized. They're farming us. The next discovery came when Alan tested the crystal with different energy types. He found it reacted strongly to brain waves, human brain waves. It responds most to feelings of awe, worship, and devotion, he explained to the group. It gets stronger when people pray to it. So these things feed on worship? Jack asked. Exactly. That's why the Vraxians built temples. That's why they want us to depend on their technology. The more we use it, the more connected we are to these crystals, the more we feed them. Samantha ran a final test. She compared human brain patterns to Vraxian ones they had recorded. There's something different about us, she said, showing them the results. Human minds work on different frequencies. We're less compatible with the crystals. Is that good? Steve asked. It's why we're not completely controlled yet, Samantha explained. It's why some of us can resist. Our minds are just different enough. Jack looked at the crystal sample in its container. So that's why they seem frustrated with us sometimes. We're not good food. Not yet, Lisa corrected. They're trying to change us, make us better worshippers, better food. The group fell silent. The truth was clear now. The gods of the Vraxians were parasites, and humanity was next on their menu. We need to find a way to fight back, General Martinez said. Before it's too late. Alen picked up the crystal sample. Maybe the answer is right here. If these things feed on us, perhaps we can find a way to poison them instead. The resistance group met in an old bunker deep underground. Maps and diagrams covered the walls. Pieces of Vraxian technology sat on tables. In the center stood a new device Alan and Samantha had built. We call it the Disruptor, Alan explained. The machine was small, about the size of a shoebox. It hummed softly. It sends out human brain waves, but stronger than normal. How does that help us? Steve asked. The crystals feed on certain brain patterns, worship, awe, obedience, Samantha said. But other patterns might hurt them, like doubt, questioning, independence. The things that make us human, Jack added. Lisa looked at the device with concern. Have you tested it? Alen nodded. On the small crystal sample. When we turn this on near it, the crystal dims. Its activity slows down. It's like giving poison to the gods, Olivia said quietly. General Martinez studied the disruptor. How many can you build? We've made 5 so far, Samantha answered. Each one can affect an area about 50 feet around it. That's not enough to cover a whole ship, the general said. No, but it might be enough for their main temple, Jack said. The place where the largest crystals are kept. The group discussed their options. The Vraxians were planning a special ceremony in 2 weeks. They called it the Great Communion. They had invited human leaders to join them on their mothership. It would be the first time many humans would see the Crystal Temple. "That's our chance," Jack said. "We can place the disruptors around the temple before the ceremony." "How do we get them on board?" Steve asked. Olivia spoke up. "I'll be going as part of the diplomatic team. I can bring them with me." "They'll scan everything," Lisa warned. Ellen smiled. "Not if we hide the disruptors inside fake Vraxian gifts. We've learned how to copy their designs. On the outside, these will look like offering boxes." The plan took shape. Olivia would bring the disguised disruptors aboard the ship. She would place them near the Crystal Temple before the ceremony. At the right moment, they would all be activated at once. "What happens if it works?" Steve asked. "The Vraxians won't be happy." "No," General Martinez agreed. "That's why we need to be ready for their response." She showed them plans for Earth's defenses. "If they attack, we'll fight back." The next 2 weeks passed quickly. The resistance group worked around the clock. They built more disruptors. They practiced the plan. They prepared for what might come after. The day before the ceremony, they'd met one last time. "Remember," Jack told Olivia, "place the devices at these 5 points." He showed her a map of the temple they had pieced together from various sources. "Then join the ceremony as if nothing is wrong." "When should we activate them?" Olivia asked. "Wait until the main crystal is revealed," Lisa said. "According to their writings, that's when the gods are most connected to the worshippers. Also when they're most vulnerable." Alan added. That night, no one slept well. They knew the next day would change everything. Either they would free humanity from the crystal gods, or they would fail and face the Vraxians' anger. Morning came. Olivia dressed in formal clothes. The disguised disruptors were packed in beautiful boxes, looking like gifts for the ceremony. The other resistance members watched as she boarded the shuttle to the Vraxian mothership. "Good luck," Jack whispered, though she couldn't hear him. Above them, the Vraxian ships glowed against the morning sky. Inside the largest one, the crystal gods waited, hungry for more worship, unaware that humans had discovered their secret and planned to break them. Olivia stood with the human delegation aboard the Vraxian mothership. She carried 5 beautifully wrapped boxes, supposedly gifts for the Great Communion. Inside each box was a disruptor. The Vraxians led the humans through long hallways that pulsed with light. Olivia had been here before, but many others looked around in wonder. She noticed how some of the humans already had the same blank look in their eyes that the Vraxians had. They had been using the alien technology too long. "The temple awaits," Krellfax announced. His blue skin glowed brighter than before. "Today you will see our gods. Today you will understand true power." They approached huge doors covered in strange symbols. 2 Vraxians stood guard. They scanned each human before allowing them to pass. Olivia held her breath when it was her turn. The scanner hummed over her body, over the boxes in her arms. She had been told the disruptors were hidden well, but she still worried. The scanner beeped. The guard looked at her. "Lovely offerings," he said. "Please place them on the altar when we enter." Olivia nodded and walked through the doors. She had passed the first test. Inside the temple, her eyes widened. The room was enormous. Thousands of Vraxians knelt in circles around a central platform. Above the platform, 5 giant crystals floated in the air. They were each as big as a car, pulsing with inner light. The human delegation was led to a special area near the front. Olivia looked for places to hide the disruptors. According to plan, they needed to be placed in a circle around the main crystals. "You may present your offerings now," Krellfax told the humans. This was her chance. Olivia stepped forward with her boxes. She placed one on the main altar directly beneath the floating crystals. Then she moved around, placing the others at different points, as if spreading out the gifts. No one stopped her. The Vraxians seemed pleased by her respect for their ceremony. When she finished, Olivia returned to stand with the other humans. She pressed a small button on her watch, the signal to the team back on Earth that the disruptors were in place. The ceremony began. The Vraxians sang in strange, high voices. The crystals glowed brighter. Olivia felt a pull in her mind, like something trying to reach inside her thoughts. Feel their power, Krellfax told the humans. Open your minds to the Eternals. Some of the humans began to sway. Others fell to their knees. The pull grew stronger. Olivia fought to keep her thoughts clear. She had been warned this might happen. The crystals were hungry. Now we will witness the Great Communion, Krellfax announced, the moment when gods and followers become one. The central crystal, larger than the others, descended toward the altar. It pulsed with blinding light. This was the moment they had been waiting for. Olivia pressed another button on her watch. For a second, nothing happened. Then, a high-pitched sound filled the air. The disruptors had activated. The effect was immediate. The giant crystal stopped ascending. Its light flickered. Then, a small crack appeared on its surface. What is happening? Krellfax cried out. Around the room, Vraxians clutched their heads. The crack in the crystal grew larger. The other floating crystals began to shake. Their perfect surfaces began to fracture. Stop this. Krellfax turned to the humans. His eyes found Olivia. What have you done? She didn't answer. She watched as the cracks spread across all 5 crystals. The sound from the disruptors grew louder. Human brain waves, doubt, questioning, independence, flooded the room. The largest crystal suddenly split in half. A blinding light burst from inside. A terrible screaming sound filled the air, not from the Vraxians, but from the crystal itself. Chaos erupted. Vraxians ran in panic. Some collapsed to the floor. The human delegation scattered, confused and frightened. Olivia stood her ground, watching as humanity's doubt and independence shattered the gods of the Vraxians. The crystal beings were breaking apart, and for the first time, Olivia saw fear in the eyes of Krellfax. The Vraxian ships left Earth orbit 3 days after the ceremony. They did not say goodbye. They did not make threats. They simply vanished back into deep space, leaving humans to wonder what had happened. Olivia had barely escaped the mothership. As the crystal gods shattered, the Vraxians fell into confusion. Some attacked the humans. Others fell to the ground, holding their heads. Olivia ran through the chaos to a small shuttle bay and stole a craft to return to Earth. Now, a month later, the resistance group met again in their underground bunker. All the Vraxian technology has stopped working, Alan reported. The crystals inside have gone dark. They're just rocks now. What about the people who were changed by the Vraxians? Steve asked. They're recovering slowly, Lisa said. It's like waking up from a long dream. They remember everything, but the connection is broken. The Earth was healing too. Without Vraxian influence, governments returned to normal. People began to think for themselves again. There were problems. Many had become dependent on alien medicine and energy. But humans adapted. They always did. Jack looked at the maps on the wall. Do we think they'll come back? For revenge? I don't think so, Samantha said. From what we've learned, the Vraxians were as much victims as we were. The crystals controlled them for thousands of years. We may have freed them too. The group fell silent, thinking about this possibility. 6 months passed. Earth returned to its old ways, but with new knowledge. Humans knew they were not alone in the universe. They knew some of what waited in the stars. They prepared, building better defenses, studying the dead Vraxian technology to learn its secrets. Then, one quiet Tuesday, a single ship appeared in orbit. It was Vraxian, but different, lighter in color, with no crystal formations on its hull. The world held its breath, waiting for what would come next. A message reached Earth. We wish to speak with those who broke the Eternals. The resistance group, now working openly as Earth's first contact team, met the ship at a remote airfield. A single Vraxian emerged. This one looked different. Its skin was a paler blue, and its eyes were clear and bright. I am Zinvoxt, the alien said. I speak for the free Vraxians. The group introduced themselves cautiously. We have come to thank you. Zinvox continued. For thousands of years, our people served the crystal beings. We thought they were gods. We did not know they were parasites that fed on worship and controlled our minds. What happened after you left Earth? Jack asked. Civil war at first. Many Vraxians could not accept the truth. But as the crystal influence faded, more remembered who we once were, before the Eternals came to our world. Zinvox showed them images of Vraxian history. Their people had once been artists, explorers, much like humans. The crystals had changed them, made them servants. You freed not just yourselves, but dozens of species across many worlds. The alien said, the network of Eternals is broken. Their control is ended. Why did they choose Earth? Olivia asked. Because you were different. Human minds are naturally resistant to their influence. The Eternals saw this as a challenge. They did not expect you would use that resistance as a weapon. Ellen smiled. They saw us as primitive. Yes, a mistake many have made before. Zinvox bowed slightly. We have come with an offer. Not as masters or teachers, but as equals. We have much to learn from each other. The group looked at one another. After everything that had happened, trust would not come easily. But the chance to learn, to see the stars, to meet other freed species, it was too important to ignore. We can start by talking, General Martinez said. As equals. Zinvox nodded. That is all we ask. As they walked toward the meeting rooms, Jack looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, other crystal gods might still exist, still enslaving worlds. Humanity's work was not finished. It had only just begun. The resistance had become something more, the vanguard of a free galaxy.